Welcome back to the Explainer, everyone. Let's just jump right into this massive matchup. We are breaking down a Premier League fixture where the stakes absolutely could not be higher. You've got a title-chasing juggernaut at the summit colliding with a squad fighting for their absolute survival at the bottom of the table. I'm your data specialist, and joining me to unpack the X's and O's is my tactical partner in crime.
Great to be here. And you're spot on. This is exactly the kind of fixture that looks like a total formality on paper, but structurally, it's a fascinating elite tactical class. We're going to break down exactly where this game will be won or lost in those critical half spaces and transition moments.
The sheer, brutal contrast in the data really sets the stage here. We have Arsenal's dominant title run sitting comfortably in first place with a 24-5 record. Then you look across the pitch at Burnley's relegation struggle. They're in 19th place with a rough 4-23 record. I mean, it is the classic David versus Goliath scenario.
It really is. But from a tactical perspective, this sets up the ultimate trap. When a team is fighting for their Premier League lives, they don't come out to play expansive, pretty football. They come to survive. Burnley is going to set up to frustrate, looking to exploit the few fleeting moments Arsenal's disorganized. The real question is whether Burnley's structure can withstand 90 full minutes of relentless positional pressure.
And our numbers absolutely reflect that immense pressure. Using our Poisson-style projections, which factor in recent goals, defensive form, and home advantage, Arsenal has a massive 78% probability to win. The draw sits at 15%, and a Burnley win is all the way down at a minute 7%.
Right, and this brilliantly illustrates exactly why that 7% is so low. It's not just about Arsenal's attack, it's really about Mikel Arteta's rest defense. Arsenal commits numbers forward, sure, but their center backs, Saliba and Gabriel, are just so utterly dominant in defensive transition. They literally suffocate counterattacks before they even cross the halfway line, making a sustained Burnley upset statistically and tactically incredibly difficult to pull off.
Exactly, and that brings us to the core expected metrics for this matchup. We are projecting 2.35 versus 0.55 expected goals. That is a colossal XG gap. Arsenal is projected to create a heavy volume of high-quality chances, pointing towards a highly likely 2-0 scoreline.
Which completely aligns with the tape we've been watching. Arsenal has scored 7 goals in their last 5 league matches, while Burnley's defensive form is just bleeding. They've conceded 12 goals in their last 5, including those rough outings against Forest and Villa. When a team conceding that heavily meets an XG engine like Arsenal, it is a recipe for a very long afternoon for the visitors.
So how do these numbers actually play out on the pitch? We're contrasting Arteta's 4-3-3 positional play against Burnley's 4-2-3-1 setup.
This right here is the tactical bedrock of the match. Arsenal's going to dominate territory and possession in that 4-3-3, pushing their fullbacks super high and inverting to control the midfield. Burnley, on the other hand, will drop their wingers deep. They're essentially turning that 4-2-3-1 into a 4-5-1, or honestly even a 6-3-1 low block out of possession. They desperately want to deny central progression and force Arsenal out wide.
Which leads us directly into Arsenal's game plan. The data overwhelmingly points to one specific channel for their primary attacking triggers.
Yep, and it's a predictable but absolutely lethal pattern. Arsenal will purposely create a right-side overload. They want to pull Burnley's entire defensive block to one side, completely exposing the weak side. Then, boom, they quickly switch the play for a Bukayo Saka isolation. Once Saka has his man one-on-one, the trigger is pulled. A progressive carry into the penalty area, resulting in a cutback or a far post delivery. It runs like clockwork.
Now, let's flip the script. How does the 7% underdog actually bite back? Burnley's win conditions rely heavily on direct transitions, attacking second balls, and set-piece execution.
Without the ability to maintain sustained possession, Burnley has to be ruthlessly efficient. When Arsenal's shape expands to attack, Burnley must trigger direct transitions the exact second they win the ball. They need to bypass Arsenal's counterpress by immediately attacking second balls in the midfield and maximizing absolutely any dead ball situations. Set pieces are the great equalizer against elite positional play, for sure.
But wait, there is a major wrinkle in Arsenal's machine today, the injury impact. Ben White left the West Ham match with a knee issue and was seen wearing a brace. Arteta even admitted it doesn't look good.
And the absolutely crucial point here is how this fundamentally breaks Arsenal's natural ability to build from the back on that right side. Ben White isn't just a defender. His overlapping and underlapping runs are exactly what create those Saka isolations we just talked about. Without White, and with Jurriën Timber and Mikel Merino also unavailable, Arsenal's right side structure is suddenly highly vulnerable.
Which brings Christian Mosquera right into the spotlight at right back, matched up against Burnley's direct transition threat. Statistically, Mosquera carries a medium card risk if he gets constantly targeted on the counter.
Exactly. Mosquera is physically gifted, no doubt, but he lacks the telepathic tactical synergy that White has built up with Saka and Odegaard. If Burnley is smart, they're going to funnel their quick transition passes directly into the space behind Mosquera, force him into foot races and awkward recovery situations before Arsenal's midfield can even drop back to support.
Burnley isn't escaping the injury bug either, though. They lose some serious midfield bite today. Josh Cullen, Hannibal Magebry, Jordan Bear, and Connor Roberts are all completely unavailable. And that is just devastating for a team whose entire game plan revolves around defensive resilience. Losing that defensive depth in the middle of the park means resisting Arsenal's relentless positional attacks for a full 90 minutes goes from difficult to practically impossible. You need fresh legs to execute a low block effectively, and Burnley simply won't have them to bring off the bench. All right, moving into the key matchup, the vertical battle, Bukayo Saka versus Vitinho. This is the tactical linchpin right here. Literally everything we've discussed about overloads and defensive blocks funnels down to this specific patch of grass on the right flank. Exactly. Let's unpack Saka's threat profile first. The metrics here are just staggering. He gives you an incredibly high fantasy floor because of his sheer volume of penalty area touches, set piece involvement, and relentless one-on-one isolation. The volume is what kills you, because Burnley will be sitting deep. Saka won't just get the ball once or twice. He is absolutely guaranteed to receive repeated, dangerous one-on-one situations in the final third. His ability to drop a shoulder, carry progressively, and either shoot or cross makes him an absolute nightmare for a team that can't press high up the pitch. Which brings us to the other side of that coin, Vitinho's defensive task versus Saka's relentless pace.
Vitinho is going to spend the vast majority of this game backing up into his own penalty box. Defending Saka isn't just about positioning, it's about reacting to lightning-quick changes of direction. This forces constant recovery tackles. Tactically speaking, Vitinho is the absolute clearest individual booking matchup on the entire pitch today, because he will constantly be a fraction of a second late against Saka's first step.
Speaking of statistical probabilities, let's pull up our goal scorer projections. The data highlights the three most probable routes to goal for Arsenal. We have Victor Gyökeres at a massive 47%, Bukayo Saka at 34%, and Leandro Trossard sitting at 29%.
And these aren't just arbitrary numbers, right? They perfectly reflect Arsenal's tactical flow. When the ball goes wide to Saka, or when Trossard operates in those left half spaces, the ultimate destination is always the center of the box.
And waiting right there in that center is Victor Gyökeres. He's projecting a 47% scoring probability, completely backed up by his 14 goals so far this season. Gyökeres is the central finisher Arsenal has built this entire system around. When you look at a Burnley backline that has bled 12 goals recently, they seriously struggle with physical, central strikers who make sharp, decisive runs across the face of the goal. Gyökeres is going to absolutely feast on the delivery coming from those wide overloads. But don't ignore the left side, though. Leandro Trossard is on a massive hot streak with a staggering 33 Dream Team points in just his last 3 matches, including that clutch match winner against West Ham.
Trossard is just so intelligent with his positioning. While everyone in the stadium is watching Saka on the right, Trossard quietly drifts inside off the left wing, finding those incredibly soft pockets of space between Burnley's midfield and defensive lines. His efficiency in those zones is exactly why his fantasy numbers are skyrocketing right now.
So comparing our key fantasy anchors for the match, we have Bukayo Saka for Arsenal against Zion Fleming for Burnley. Saka is the obvious high-floor captain choice based on both XG and XA. But if you're looking for value on the Burnley side, Fleming is a really fascinating pick. He doesn't need 60% possession to be effective. His value comes from operating in central zones, attacking those second balls we mentioned earlier, and taking shots from distance. If Burnley manages a shot goal today, Fleming's transition play is highly likely to be the catalyst. Let's quickly shift gears to the disciplinary side and map out the bookings risk. We've got Burnley's Sander Berge at medium/high, Vitinho at high, Dara O'Shea at medium, and Arsenal's Declan Rice down at a low/medium risk. This matrix maps out the tactical pressure points perfectly. Sander Berge is going to be heavily tasked with defending the central zones against Martin Odegaard and Declan Rice. When Arsenal dominates the ball and runners start constantly overloading his zone, Berge is going to have to commit tactical fouls to break up the rhythm. It's frankly inevitable. And the referee data validates that angle entirely. We have Paul Tierney officiating today. The databases show he has a moderate profile, historically issuing around 3.2 to 3.8 cards per match. So he's not entirely card happy, but he will absolutely punish cynical tactical fouls. This referee profile points heavily toward a Burnley fullback, like Vitinho desperately dealing with Saka, or a holding midfielder like Burge seeing yellow, as they desperately try to plug the holes in their low block. Which brings us to our ultimate question. Will Arsenal's title charge crush Burnley's low block, or will transition efficiency spark a relegation-defying upset? The numbers overwhelmingly point to an Arsenal masterclass in possession and territory.
The data absolutely says yes, but we all know the beautiful game is played on grass. Arsenal has the structural dominance, but with White out, there is just a tiny glimmer of hope for Burnley on the counter. Can sheer tactical discipline and survival instinct overcome pure statistical dominance under massive title pressure? Let us know what you think in the comments. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and enjoy the match.